Whew, all right. The monk. We got to the monk. Ability requirement 12 strength, int, 15 wisdom, 15 dex. Only humans. Int and wisdom are your prime requisite. So you get any kind of XP bonus if you use that. I'm not a fan of prime requisite. You gotta have prime requisite in both of them. Hit die, D8. Brother's got some hit points. The XP progression, 2350, 4850. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's a little bit more than a fighter, less than a magic user. Definitely more than a cleric and a thief. It says it's a subclass of cleric. Goes over their monastic lifestyle and their vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience unto death. Warriors, administrators, and council. So their role in the group, it says second line warrior. Good maneuverability because it's always going to be 40 because you can't wear armor. Learned scholars and spellcasters. So it helps the wizard with research stuff. So book learnings and stuff like that. The monk should be really good at that. And if you have independent research rules in your game, those would come right in. They have to be lawful. And the type of lawful determines the color of the robe. So they basically advertise their alignment. Black robe monk, lawful evil. Neutral monk, gray robes. Your lawful good friar tuck monk, brown robes. Their attack bonus caps out at +4, just like the cleric. Which means they're not going to be hitting a whole lot versus your high or really low AC critters. And they begin play with common and ancient common, just like the cleric does. It's pretty handy. Now here's where they get mean fast. Spare not the rod. Quarterstaff specialist, and they get 3 abilities. Off the bat, +1 to damage every other level. So starting at first, +1, then at third level, every 2 levels. So they go up to third, then they get another +1 to damage. And that doesn't ever stop. So they have a decent amount of damage output, especially if you get them a magical weapon. Doesn't have any restrictions on their strength or dexterity like the monk did in AD&D. So you can, if you have a 13 or better strength, you're going to do strength damage extra, and their dex helps with their AC, which I'll get to the AC in a minute. But in the second, they may use their staff to parry or deflect one successful melee or missile attack for no damage. Once per combat for every 3 levels. So once a combat round at first level, twice a combat round at 4th, and then 3 at level 7. So that's 3 attacks you're going to ignore if you have a staff. If you catch a monk unarmed with no staff, he can't do squat with that dodging. It's not innate that he can dodge arrows and stuff. He uses the big stick. So without the staff, they're not blocking nothing. And third, they can trip. It's a trip attack is -1 to hit, and then you trip them. And any guy on the ground gets +4 to hit. So you could run up, trip someone, and then the fighters and the barbarians and everybody else just puts a boot party on somebody. If you're not, but it's -1 to hit. Like I said, their attack bonus is not spectacular. In fact, it was always 20. So, here's what it is. And then at third level, they can cast spells. And at 5th level, they can scribe scrolls. They don't get bonus spells, nor can they channel. So they are a hybrid. I've been having a problem with the Vow of Poverty, how I look at it, because the Vow of Poverty says you may possess no more than 20 gold pieces and 3 magic items, and that's the big hindrance. But it costs 250 gold pieces per spell level to make a scroll. Therefore, you can invest in a project and do it. but you can only have possessions that you can carry upon yourself. I don't see these people having houses or retainers, but with the writing that there is a scroll ability, which you have to pay for, then you could buy stuff and pay retainers, and then only retain 20 gold pieces for yourself, and then everything else goes to the church or charity or whatever. Vow silence. If a monk violates their alignment, faith, deity, or an order, they can't speak at your table. They can't talk for one experience level. So if they're not playing their monk along monk lines, put the hammer down. Then you have a player who can't even speak at the table. He just says what my character does. He doesn't actually say anything out loud. So he can't yell, help, he can't do this, he can't talk to NPCs. He's pretty much mute. And with the vow of poverty, I guarantee it's where you're going to bust heads with your players. Because the first thing they do is try to figure out a way at vow of poverty. Because they need stuff. They want more stuff. They want this. They want that. If they're investing in this stuff, it's no big deal. I got one player, he's already buying dogs. Like, next time in town, I'm buying war dogs. Which, I mean, if the monk walks around with a pack of dogs, sleeps with the dogs in the kennels, I mean, that's a way to look at it, I guess. Holy chant. Now, this one I already had to make a ruling on because it says soul action. And this is a two-part action economy, which means when they say soul action, that's the only thing you're doing that round. So when they chant, they just stand there and chant. And the chant is like a big protection from evil 30-foot radius. And it are immune to sleep, charm, hold, and mind-influencing spells. If he takes any kind of damage or attacks, which implies movement, right? Then it ends. It's once per day and can't stack with other pro-evil stuff. I think it's actually almost a little bit better than some of the others. Also, for physical discipline, they can dodge magic missiles, which means they get a save versus spell. And gets any kind of form of damage. Excessive save that normally results in half damage, scores no damage. And there's no level on that. That's just from get-go. So they get a save against no save stuff and half save stuff, no damage. So they're already superior to the AD&D monk. Ancient lore. They can do like a bard thing in the middle of your game for a successful wisdom check. Not their wisdom. Third level, they turn undead like a first level cleric. Minor, kind of like a paladin does. Scholarship. This is another one. It's kind of a powerful ability that's underrated. Comprehend languages at will, which means anything you run across, they can read. So no more hidden, codes and stuff. You can make an argument that they couldn't figure that out immediately. But if it's in a different language, absolutely. But at 5th level, they got to make a pilgrimage to a sacred site of their monastic order. It's an RP thing. I got to figure out something to do with that. And then it talks about the monk's habit. Their saves are decent. They're not great. They're all right. But with the blocking ability, those only 3 magic items are definitely going to be a weapon and 2 protection items, and they almost become impossible to hit. A good set of bracers and a good ring, or a good ring and a cloak, and the monk is very hard to hit. Because that combat discipline is +1 AC per level. So at first level, you are AC 9 minus Dex. It's an AC 10 game. And at 10th level, you're AC 0 minus Dex. So if you have the minimum dexterity to be the class, you are AC -1 at 10th level in roads. Period. If you have on bracers AC 2, if you're so lucky to find something like that, or AC 5, your bracers AC 5 are a mid-level magic item. That's AC -6. That is someone who's really, really hard to hit. I almost call these guys completely broken. But everybody who reads them, who's played AD&D, always goes, I want to play that. They don't even blink. That looks awesome. I want to play that. So it looks like it's going to be an enjoyable class. It steers you to RP with the rules. I call it the nudge. It uses the nudge principle, and I think you should really, really play that up. And the second they try to break the rules or whatever, then you need to come down heavy on them. Like wearing robes that don't match their monastic order colors. Magical robes that aren't the right color aren't going to be worn, and if they wear them, they're breaking a monastic order, like a taboo. Ergo, your character no longer gets to speak as long as he's wearing that robe. You're going to have to enforce that stuff, which creates RP situations, more fun roleplay. But if they're going to try to work the system, you got to lay down the law and have honest discussions about vow of poverty. I had a monk he was wanting to do carousing, and I'm like, you're lawful. Why would you do that? But so we're going to be bickering and me making rulings a lot when it comes to the monk. But if you play someone like patterned on a pious monk, was it Caldwell? Was that the one that was something on BritBox? Some series I used to watch. It was an investigative monk. But the monks don't have anything, but if they give everything to their order and stuff, the places where the monks are pretty nice. They're like little commies. They're living in a communist commune. So we're going to see how this works out. Doesn't say they can't be hasted. Doesn't say they can't be slowed. So that's something they get some of the other abilities from other versions of the game earlier, and they seem a little bit more tilted, and then they don't get some of the other stuff at all, which I think is handy. No thief skills, which I kind of like. Why would a monk know how to pick your pockets? I mean, come on. Maybe someone had a dim view of the clergy. But anyway, they look awesome. If you play Dragonslayer, let me know the feedback in the comments how the monk worked out in your games. How they work without a magic weapon. And there's going to be arguments about the staff. I still want to see someone beat to death with the Staff of Healing because I think it's hilarious. And the Staff of Striking is like something they drool on. But those common +1, +2 quarterstaves you see in an adventure that no one cares about, suddenly the monk is stepping up and grabbing those because that gives him a magic weapon, more damage output, and general badassness. But I think the fun part with him was going to be general RP because you're playing a monk with the bald pot and everything. Okay, be kind of interesting. Maybe they'd be mooching off the paladins and the fighters. The fighter who's got a spending and drinking problem has a monk buddy who sits right next to him and gets fed and drinks all the time and just keeps his 20 gold pieces in his pockets. But anyway, digging it so far. I highly recommend it to people who want to try something a little different than old school essentials, a little different than your other BX games, and ride into something that is purely AD&D light with niche protection and stuff built into it. It's kind of neat. The hybrids stand out on their own against the core classes. Not as strong in some ways. I think the fighter would deal more damage and would be more apt to be able to land blows on a monk. And that would be an interesting fight. A D6 plus lots of bonuses versus the sheer power of a straight fighter. Maybe I'll have some guys roll some characters. We'll make some generic level characters and fight them out for fun. Probably won't though, to be honest. Later. Y'all have a good day.